folks, welcome to Movie News Monday, where every single Monday live on Twitch, we cover everything going on in the world of movies and television. We're talking MCU, DCUs, all the U's, you know what it is, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that YouTube brings you back here. Or if you want to catch us live, hop on over to Twitch, where you can be right in on the action, where we talk about things like... We have a major developing story in the world of streaming and television. Fox is buying Roku in a $22 billion deal. Now, the first thing you might be thinking, wait, I thought Disney bought Fox. Not that Fox. So, when Disney completed their acquisition of 20th Century Fox, they actually had to divest from the television broadcast arm of the business in order to avoid any sort of cross-pollination with their politics and their news organization and their TV distribution and all of that. So Fox has been working as an independent standalone network for a while, and as of today, they have now acquired Roku, which is one of the biggest sort of freemium platforms that exists out there. So let's break into the details of the deal. Like I said, Roku has been purchased for $22 billion, which is a combined $160 a share and cash option that Fox is using in order to purchase the company. Now, why would Fox want to get into the game of Roku? Well, company says that they are committed to continuing to operate Roku as an open, partner-friendly platform and to the continued ubiquitous distribution of Fox content. Now, Fox Corp, now the standalone Fox Corp, which is just Fox News and the Fox Television and Fox Sports Broadcasting, another reason why Disney's ESPN couldn't really afford to merge with Fox Sports, have been operating as basically the Murdoch's mini empire. And it is, it's not news to say that Fox is one of the biggest networks and one of the biggest sources of news in the United States. And this is essentially the crux of why they're trying to get into some of these more free or freemium type offerings. Roku is a massive platform. Roku also is technically a technology company because they create the Roku sticks or the Roku TVs, which have built-in advertising into their platform. Your standby screen is essentially ads. We all remember the unbothered vibes of the Roku screensaver before it was corporatized, before there was advertisements on it. But now those advertisements will directly feed into Fox's interests. Combined company will become the third largest player in the United States TV by share of viewing. So combining Roku, combining Fox, and combining Tubi, which is another freemium streaming service that Fox has acquired. Interestingly enough, Roku was actually on a good track. Funny how these companies, sort of like the AI companies these days, if they're on the right track to profitability, it just really means that they're ready to be acquired. All the nasty things getting worse. I know, chat. I know. But it was getting better for Roku before. Roku reported its first full year of profit last year with $4.74 billion of revenue with $88.4 million of income, a 15% increase, which just seemed to be perfect for the taking for Fox. Fox had acquired Tubi back in 2020. I feel like this was very quiet and kind of snuck underneath. I didn't know that Tubi was owned by Fox personally. But back in 2020, Fox bought Tubi for $440 million, and Tubi has over 100 million monthly users. If you are hearing Tubi and you're like, I kind of know what that is, your TV constantly keeps reminding you that you have free channels available, that's Tubi. Or that one Super Bowl ad that made every single drunk uncle scream at every child in the room, "Who's touching the remote?" That was Tubi. The Murdochs say Roku pioneered streaming TV and scaled it to a leading connected TV platform. Together, we intend to lead its next chapter. Owners of Roku said, over the past 2 decades, we built Roku into the leading TV streaming platform. The combination with Fox is an extraordinary opportunity to accelerate our vision, scale faster, and innovate more aggressively for viewers, partners, and advertisers. So, this is where we are now. Roku TV is now a subsidiary of Fox, so expect to see your recommended news to be Fox News, your recommended sports to be Fox Sports. I mean, look, there are some potential upsides here, right? Like, this is an opportunity for Roku TV to up its budget and up its opportunity in licensing content. Roku has been a pretty big proponent of licensing content back in the day when Warner Bros. Was axing a lot of things, or I will say, when Warner Discovery was axing a lot of things off of its platform. Roku was acquiring streaming rights left and right for some of those different shows. Roku was getting into the mix of developing original content, but that wasn't something that was really rolling all too well. But now they might have the capacity to do that a little bit better. All of that being said, expect to see Fox positive and Fox adjacent advertising platforms, apps to be advertised and incentivized much more in the TVs. It also gets like this is where my tinfoil hat comes on. I'm also like, do I really want the Murdochs to have access to my TV? Right? My TV that, like, do y'all know how many different like privacy and ad settings there are on smart TVs? Like, you know how many opt-in to advertisements and viewing activity and everything like that? You know your mom and dad aren't clicking into any of those settings. They don't even know how to turn on the smooth vision. They don't know how to turn on filmmaker mode. You think they know how to protect their data privacy on a smart TV? And a lot of those controllers, remotes now have microphones built into them. I don't want them listening to me. I don't want them having my data. Even though Google already has all my data. But Google's not a Murdoch. I don't know. This is not my favorite bit of news for the day. And, it's sad. This is another player in the streaming space, another player in the television space who is now gone and acquired and part of another company. And this just goes back to what we were saying when the Warner Brothers bidding process was getting started, that it feels like companies are taking advantage of the current administration to go ahead and be like, yeah, we can merge. No one's going to stop us. Lena Khan, we need you. We need you right now. We need to put the Lena Khan signal up in the air. Not to be confused with the bat signal, which is also up in the air because The Batman Part 2 is officially and finally in production. If you had your fears, if you had your concerns that The Batman was not actually filming and never going to have its sequel, rest assured they have. This is the first title shot directly from Matt Reeves for The Batman Part 2. First shot, first take is of a dead body, so setting the tone right away. Look, this movie has been a long time coming, and this film is coming out next year in October of 2027, which will be, I believe, 5 years from when the first Batman movie released. Yep, 5 years in between Batman releases. We did also get an official logo for The Batman Part 2, which is, yep, it's The Batman Part 2. I love a part 2 in the title. Can I just say, I love that it's not Batman 2. I love that it's not The Batman, Enter the Smoke or The Long Halloween or Year 2 or whatever. I like that it's just a simple part 2. Bring back simple sequel titles. But in either case, very excited to finally see this movie moving forward. It feels like forever. Matt Reeves is a great visionary director for this franchise, and the more I sit with it and the longer we have to wait, I'm okay with the Batman and the Reeves verse staying separate from the DCU, but there is still a possibility that it merges in with everything James Gunn is setting up with the Supermans and the Supergirls, but we'll see. I less and less inclined to believe that that's the case, and more okay with that being the case. So we did get a little bit more Batman Part 2 news. We did hear from Jeff Snyder, the In-Snyder, who is a semi-reliable scooper. Maybe not the best guy ever, but he does have some pretty reliable scoops, and he seems to have confirmed that Brian Tyree Henry is actually playing Harvey Dent Two-Face. Now, this would go against all speculation that Sebastian Stan is playing Two-Face. We actually talked about this way back in the day in Movie News Monday, which we only recently got confirmation from Matt Reeves that Sebastian Stan has been cast in the film. There were some reports. The Hollywood Reporter, I think, was the first to confirm that he was playing Harvey Dent Two-Face. We did also have Sebastian Stan's stylist post some concept art of him as Two-Face. Now, in the age of AI and fan art and everywhere that we live, there's no telling whether or not any of that was official artwork. It was promptly deleted, so maybe there's some truth to it. You know, I'm okay if it's Brian Tyree Henry playing Harvey Dent. I think this is a interesting choice, and I would love to see his version of a deranged Two-Face. And you'll see based off this artwork too, you know, we did have a Billy D. Williams playing Harvey Dent back in the day with Batman 1989, but he never got to actually fulfill the Two-Face moniker, so maybe this is a slight nod to that. But who do you think then that Sebastian Stan is playing if he's not playing Two-Face? I think it would be interesting if he was playing someone like a Hush. I don't know, like a Ra's al Ghul? No, they wouldn't do that again. I don't know. Calendar Man. Kite Man, hell yeah. Whoever he's playing, I would even be fine if Sebastian Stan was just playing some corporate executive from Wayne Tech or Wayne Industries, or someone from the Court of Owls, because I'm still low-key hoping that they're building towards the Court of Owls with the Batman. I need to remember to add the. Drop the. It's just Batman. Speaking of DC and sticking to the world of DC, Wonder Woman prequel series is a go. We finally have some movement and some more updates regarding the world of Themyscira. When James Gunn and Peter Safran took over DC Studios, they made mention that the current plan for the DCU, the first phase of the universe, was something that they were calling Gods and Monsters. And the gods very clearly seem to be pointing not just to the superheroes that Superman and Supergirl are, but perhaps to the actual literal gods and monsters of the, Greek and Roman variety. And so we all expected to see Wonder Woman be a part of the original vision, and it was announced from the get-go that there was a Paradise Lost prequel series for Wonder Woman that was being developed, set in Themyscira, or the Amazon, the land of the Amazonians, which is the Paradise Island where it's only Amazonian women, was in original development with the DCU. James Gunn confirmed that it is in extreme development alongside a Booster Gold series. But speaking on Paradise Lost, we have learned that Kyra Snyder and Janet Lynn have been attached to the project. We don't know their exact titles, although it's safe to assume they might be, if not executive producers, perhaps just writing the pilot script. Kyra Snyder has worked on The Handmaid's Tale and the Apple TV series For All Mankind, where Janet Lynn comes from Bridgerton. Now, having watched Handmaid's Tale, having heard a lot about All Mankind, and having watched Bridgerton, color me very intrigued, especially hearing that Peter Safran and James Gunn have described Paradise Lost to be sort of a Game of Thrones style series set in the world of Themyscira, explaining how it would explore all the darkness and drama and political intrigue behind a society of only women. Well, thank goodness that they thought at least to hire some women to write this. Look, there was a time where they would have been like, a show about women? Let's hire Joss Whedon. We've come a long way, okay? All that being said, you know, Wonder Woman is key to setting up the DCU. Obviously, Wonder Woman, the first film, was a tremendous success. The second film critically was not very well, but they do get the benefit of hiding behind COVID as far as not having an actual box office. Though I do feel like the cultural sentiment behind Gal Gadot's portrayal of Wonder Woman has kind of, you know, turned to a very fat Kal-El, no. All that to be said, Wonder Woman is a very, very ripe IP and very prominent character for DC, and it surprises me that they wouldn't be rushing to get her back on the big screen. We did hear that the Supergirl writer Anna Nogueira was working on a Wonder Woman movie, and it was being fast-tracked from the last we heard about it. However, James Gunn is very key on shutting down any sort of rumors and casting rumors, stating that he will not be casting until a script is finalized. Is that really the case? Are they having any sort of meetings? I don't know, man. In either case, this is super exciting. I do think that Paradise Lost is an extremely interesting and extremely different type of story to be set in the DC universe. It's separate enough and fantastical enough that you can really go crazy with it, especially if you're setting it as a prequel series. All that to be said, we are about to be inundated in fantasy content. I mean, we have, you know, the Lord of the Rings series is still going on. We have the Aragon series kicking off. We have the Cosmere universe kicking off. There's so much going on in the world of fantasy storytelling, on top of the fact that like Game of Thrones is still going. So DC, get on it. You're gonna fall behind. Like, I understand that, you know, sort of like Greco-Roman mythical gods is a little bit different as far as fantasy storytelling, but you don't want to be last to the punch here, so get to it. I'm curious. I know that Paradise Lost would be a prequel series, so it wouldn't necessarily have Wonder Woman in it, but do you have a fan cast for Wonder Woman? I think for me, it is still Katie O'Brien. We need I almost said we need a big girl, but that felt wrong, and I didn't feel right saying that. We need an Amazonian, you know? We need an Amazonian. I want someone who looks like they could pick up a car and throw it. So if you have a fan cast for Wonder Woman, let me know. Let me know why it's not Katie O'Brien, because it should be. Katie O'Brien, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. Well, if you don't like fantasy but like sci-fi instead, well, have I good news for you. We can always go over to the magical realm of Doctor Who. You know, I used to be a huge fan of Doctor Who back in the day, the Matt Smith days, the David Tennant days. I kind of plugged out of it with when Peter Capaldi took on. So let's see, how have things been going? Update on Doctor Who. Oh. Now, unfortunately, if you didn't hear the news, Doctor Who is going on a bit of a hiatus. There's some wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff going on, and really it kind of comes down to maybe a mistreated culture in the fandom and in the creative community. I don't know, man. Look, let's back up a little bit. So before we got here to BBC announcing the current state of Doctor Who, let's back up a little bit to a few months ago when Disney Plus prematurely ended their relationship with Doctor Who. Doctor Who is a long-standing series. If you don't know, it started all the way back in the 1960s, and it has this sort of built-in, forever-standing mechanism that the Doctor, the main character of the show, has this regeneration effect that takes place where he sort of loses some of his memories, not all of them, but he also respawns as a new person altogether. New personality, new physical traits. It is basically like, what if we could explain away the reason we have a new James Bond every single time? Except they built it into the nature of the show. They've used this over the years since the 60s. The show did take a long hiatus and came back in the early 2000s, where it has been pretty steadily running since then, with several different actors portraying the Doctor, very famously Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, and then some more who I have lost. But the latest incarnation of the Doctor was portrayed by, and I'm trying to find his name because I want to say his name. He's got a different name. His name is... There it is. Nudi Gatwa. I wanted to get it right, Chad, okay? Nudi Gatwa was playing the latest incarnation of the Doctor, and from everything that I have heard from folks who have actually watched the show, he's a fantastic Doctor. However, look, we live in a time, and this is the first time that the Doctor is a person of color. The Doctor was actually a woman for a little bit as well, although it was a white woman, so... people were upset, but they weren't upset the same way that they were here. And Nudi Gatwa is basically taking a break from acting and stepping away from the role, which is a little bit unprecedented. It's been like not since Christopher Eccleston that someone has sort of unceremoniously exited the role. But with that being said, they did, the BBC and Doctor Who plan to have their annual Christmas special be a way to sort of send off the latest arc of the show. They tried to do this like fun stunt casting for the regeneration of the Doctor. But prior to all that kicking into effect, Disney Plus exited the partnership with BBC, where they were distributing the show outside of the UK and Ireland. BBC said that they remain fully committed to Doctor Who. They're delighted that Russell T Davies has agreed to write another Christmas special. They announced plans for the next series in due course, which will ensure the TARDIS remains at the heart of the BBC. So this was, couple months ago, they were still committed to making sure that they were going to get Doctor Who going. And then things were pretty quiet since then, until this week, where we learned that Doctor Who is going on a time out. BBC will put Doctor Who out to competitive tender this year. Doctor Who remains an important part of the BBC, and this tender underpins the BBC's continued commitment to Doctor Who, ensuring all audiences will enjoy the show for years to come. Now, what does it mean to put a show out to tender? This is very British sounding language. I did look it up for you, do not worry. It essentially means the BBC is shopping Doctor Who. They are putting the IP up for pitching, so different producers, different networks can pitch their take on the show, and if they like it, if it aligns with their core principles, they will greenlight it to go into production. After careful consideration, the BBC, Russell T Davies, and Bad Wolf, his production company, have collectively decided not to go ahead with the previously announced Doctor Who Christmas episode. We are choosing to push forward to invest in the long-term future of the show. The previously announced Doctor Who animation series is currently still in production. So with that, Doctor Who is officially on time out. Yeah, we fumbled Idris for 007. Of course, we would fumble a black actor for Doctor Who. Look, this is all speculation, right? We don't actually know what happened in those conversations, but it's not lost on me that, a queer person of color was welcomed into this role, and very little protections are typically put in place for actors in these big dedicated fandoms who are passionate. I mean, Y'all, if you could have been in middle school and high school during the Matt Smith, David Tennant days of Doctor Who, it was a different time. It was a different time. The amount of bumper stickers that you would see that say "My other car is a TARDIS." Oh my gosh, you can't even imagine. All of that to be said, it is a little bit sad to see this happen. I mean, Doctor Who is a long-standing IP. I mean, technically a continued series all the way from the 1960s into today. When it came back, it was really great. It had a great restart, so maybe it just needs another break. Maybe we need to give it a rest for a little bit. Are they getting ideas for big swings or safe takes? That's the question, right? It feels like they had been taking some relatively big swings, but at the same time, there's only so much that you can do when a show has hundreds of episodes and decades of history behind it. I mean, how many episodes of Doctor Who? You have 892 official episodes of Doctor Who spanning 40 seasons from 1963 to 1989 and then 2005 to 2026. I guess 2025, since they haven't produced anything this year. So this show came back for 20 years. That's a solid run. Even though you've had different creative teams, even though you've had different actors, 20 years is a solid run. So you know what, Doctor Who? If you want to hang up your fez for a little bit, you can do that. You can do that. I'll let you rest. Put the sonic screwdriver down for a minute, all right? It's okay. Will we see another Doctor Who soon? You know what? Maybe animated's the way to go, right? Maybe the animated's the way you go, and you can go back to other Doctors and retell stories or continue threads. I don't know. There's enough that you can explore there. There's enough to explore there. Deal is out. The DGA has a tentative deal with the AMPTP. Famously, the DGA, back at the days of the strikes, the Directors Guild of America was the first to sign a deal, and so they did not scab. They supported and did not cross the picket line when SAG and the WGA were striking a couple years ago. However, they did sign their deal first initially, and now they are the last of the table. However, the deal has turned up, and it is actually a really promising deal with some extremely interesting choices. DGA worked in some things for their deal with the AMPTP that is a little shocking to me, but I guess ultimately makes sense, especially if you're looking to protect the long term of directors working in Hollywood. This first one being that there is going to now be a cap on how many episodes can be directed by people who already work on scripted series in another capacity. So people who are a part of your show, and the great example used here is someone like Noah Wyle from The Pit. Noah Wyle is the writer of the show, the executive producer of the show, and he is the lead actor of the show. So per this new DGA rule, there's going to be a limit on how many episodes someone like Noah Wyle could direct of The Pit, because it does technically take away opportunities from other potential directors to work, right? So if you are giving the directing job to other people who are already a part of the show, you're not opening doors for new directors to get into the show. In a way, it makes sense. Although I don't think that's something I would have come up with. That being said, apparently casting directors and showrunners, were keen to have this be a part of the show, interestingly enough. Of course, like all other ones, there's been an increase in employer contributions to health plans. Yes, everyone deserves to go to the doctor, especially directors. On AI, footage generated by AI will stay under the director's control. So it seems as though there's been cases where generative AI, when it's used as part of a production, is not under the director's creative control, which is weird to think about, given that you could just run another prompt. Why wouldn't you if the director disagrees? But additionally, studios must disclose AI use during the employment talks. So before a director fully signs on to a production, they have to make explicitly clear whether AI is intended to be used in this production. A very interesting addition here that I actually really love. There will now be a new permanent pilot directed by card on every episode of a series. That's great. That's a good opportunity to basically give the flowers to whoever was keen on making that first pilot episode run and essentially get the show going. You get a series created by credit on TV shows. Why can't you have a pilot directed by? It's just one extra line of text. Let's give them their credits. Give them their flowers. There was also a shift in streaming residuals. There was this tricky loophole that existed before that studios would pay smaller residuals when movies moved from one streamer to another. Now they will no longer be able to use that loophole. Additionally, like the conversation that has been going on in a lot of spaces, studios are agreeing to be sending top executives, so high-level folks, to Washington to help lobby for federal production incentives. We've been talking about it on this stream for a long time, but jobs are disappearing in the film industry. Not just the high-level big action blockbusters that take up the summer box office, like mid-level, low-level, the middle class of Hollywood is being seriously affected by production not taking place in the United States. And so studios are going to be putting a serious effort into combating that, including the AMPTP is going to be trying to reduce the amount of productions that are going to be shooting abroad. So DGA, you seem to be getting yourself a pretty good deal. So this is amazing, and I'm glad to see it. And I hope that we're setting ourselves up for success. No word on how long this deal is going to go, but hopefully, it goes for the next few years, and we can just get back to having good movies being made, huh? Chat, what do you think about that? Good movies? I say yes. All right, y'all. You're not ready for this next run of stories. This is where things get fun. Well, chat, it happened. After 6 long months, maybe more than that, if you want to count the 2 months prior of the back and forth with Netflix, but after 8 long months, the Department of Justice here in the United States has given its blessing to Paramount and Warner Bros. And the merger, for all intents and purposes in the United States, is almost there. Haha, you thought I was going to say a go. No, there are still a couple hurdles to clear, but the Department of Justice will not be pursuing antitrust litigation against Paramount, Skydance, trying to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery. DOJ declined and said that there's not likely to result in harm to competition or American consumers across streaming, linear TV, and theatrical film. Let's look at some of the highlights, why don't we? The DOJ said that a combined Paramount-Warner Bros. Wouldn't kill competition in the streaming space. It would create a beefier challenger to Netflix and other giants. It harms me, chat. I agree. Look, in regards to the streaming space, it is true. HBO Max is not one of the giants. Paramount Plus is not one of the giants. The giants are Netflix, YouTube, TikTok, and I guess Disney Plus, Hulu. So Paramount Plus merging with HBO Max, though it makes me sad, especially because they've been clear that Paramount Plus will become the new home base app, where HBO Max just has such a better platform. It hurts me, though I do technically see them saying it is not actually going to be reducing competition all that much because it is barely competition to the big guys. Regarding comparisons to the 2019 Disney 20th Century Fox deal, Paramount is a pure play media company that lives or dies on making and distributing content, so it has every reason to keep output up. The reason that this comparison was brought up is because there was concern that Disney and 20th Century would reduce their outputs of theatrical distribution because they wouldn't need to make as many movies because it'd be one company. And Disney did get to say, no, we totally would. And they got lucky with a pandemic and a strike to kind of cover their asses. But Disney and 20th Century do not release nearly as many movies as Disney versus 20th Century Fox used to. However, Disney does have the opportunity to lean on its other outputs, right? Disney has a theme park. Disney has toys and merchandising and so many other things that it gets to do, whereas Paramount is a media company and Warner Brothers is a media company. They don't really have other arms of their business. Sure, Warner Brothers licenses out their content to Six Flags, but they don't own Six Flags. It's a different thing altogether. And regarding jobs, overall jobs in the industry, labor worries do not raise actionable antitrust concerns. Its reasoning being that demand for creative workers tracks output, so if outputs hold, hiring should too. So because this company will need to create movies and television in order to be successful, it will likely keep hiring people to make movies and create television shows. So look, I can see a world where this makes sense. I can see how the Department of Justice gets there, but to me, it looks like they came prepared with every single way to say, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. So is the Paramount Warner Brothers merger a done deal since the DOJ gave it its blessing? Not yet. There are still 3 major hurdles to clear. So let's start with the first, one of which there was updates today, but I was not able to fit them into the show. But there is still state attorney generals who are loading up lawsuits. More specifically, California and New York. The attorney generals of both of those states seem to be gearing up for some major lawsuits. There is a possibility that others follow suit, but if that happens, we are going to have to see an expanded legal review with those specific states regarding this merger. Secondly, though these companies are both US-based companies, they do operate in large enough markets in other areas of the world that they do need to consider those provisions as well. The European Union is poking at the $24 billion of the Gulf sovereign wealth money. We've talked about this several times back when it was Netflix's deal to win, and now even where we are now, we've discussed that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Qatar and other Middle Eastern sovereign funds are backing some of the capital that Paramount needs for this $111 billion deal. And the European Union, who is, much closer to some of those countries, has some flags to raise regarding that. And then lastly, in the UK, there is competition regulators who are looking and reviewing everything. This is what we discussed last week, where Paramount might be forced, in order to clear the UK's regulations, it might be forced to sell off some of his assets that it doesn't care about, which they claimed would be things like Nickelodeon and some of their children's programming, which is crazy because why would you throw away the IP? Why wouldn't you throw away something like the News Network, which competes with your other existing news network? How did the DOJ not talk about the news networks? CNN and CBS News. Crazy. So they cleared this first major hurdle. There are 3 smaller hurdles to clear. There is, though, a possibility that we do have a Paramount Skydance and Warner Brothers Discovery merger by the end of this calendar year. We live in a world of monopolies. But hey, Doesn't that sound like a great idea for a movie? That's right. If you're not sick of monopolies in Hollywood, why not throw one more on there? Yes, after decades of trying, Lionsgate is taking another stab at creating a Monopoly movie. Y'all, if you think we've learned all the wrong lessons from the Barbie movie and the Lego movie and some of these other movies, Monopoly is trying to get on the big screen, and not for lack of trying, to be clear. We learned that Lionsgate, Lucky Chap, and Hasbro Entertainment are hiring 2 different writing teams to take a crack at Monopoly. Niall Widener and Gavin James from a Minecraft movie versus Rebecca Angelo and Lauren Shuck Blum from Dumb Money. Both of these writer duos have been hired to flesh out ideas for a Monopoly movie. Insiders are saying that the studio is in very early days and there's no telling which way the project is going to go. There are 2 outlines that are commissioned, and 1 script will be chosen and developed from there. So we have multiple writer duos who I'm sure are taking very different takes in very different directions on a Monopoly movie, but we are headed to basically, I don't know, see a documentary of the current state of the entertainment industry. Lionsgate first took a stab at adapting Monopoly in 2015, over a decade ago, enlisting Golden Globe nominee Andrew Niccol to pen a script. They developed another take with Kevin Hart, which would have had him reunite with his collaborator Tim Story. Ridley Scott was at one point attached to direct, back when Universal was looking at a Monopoly movie back in 2008. Thankfully, the failure of the 2012 Battleship movie made them rethink their board game to film pipeline. Neil Wilder and Gavin James, who are working on one version of the script, come from Warner Bros. Minecraft movie, which of course grossed $960 million at the global box office. Some could say that came from the IP of Minecraft and not necessarily from their writing. Some would say. And they are also working on a Beyblade movie for producer Jerry Bruckheimer. On the other side, Rebecca Angelo and Lauren Shuck. Oh my gosh. Rebecca and Lauren are the writers of Dumb Money. They are also working on a Murder, She Wrote reboot with Jamie Lee Curtis. And they have been writing for several different shows over the years together. So, look, there's a chance that this happens. It is interesting to see this optioned approach. This is not the first time that we've heard about this, even just this year. Paramount is exploring multiple different directions for the G.I. Joe franchise, and they've optioned out a couple scripts. I feel like it's becoming more known that this is happening, but I imagine this is a practice that's existed for years and years and years. It'll just be interesting because eventually, this movie will come out and we'll get to have a retrospective of what the hell all the other versions of this movie would have been. Let me catch up with Chad here. I don't know what's worse, writing Monopoly or writing Monopoly and it doesn't get made. Imagine being the losing duo on the Monopoly movie. That's gotta be rough. Chat, thank you so much for stopping by. I sincerely appreciate you spending your Monday evenings with me. If you're watching on YouTube, what are you doing? Go ahead and jump over to Twitch, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We are live every Monday for Movie News Monday. We have a lot of fun here, so please don't be shy and stop by. If you are watching on YouTube, though, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so that YouTube brings you back and you can be caught up to speed on everything going on. You can tell your friends, hey, I already knew about this. I already knew about this movie. When you're at the movie theater and a trailer comes on, they're like, oh my God, they're making this movie. You're going to be like, yeah, Joopy Gorg told me. Well, hey, folks, this is Editing Joopy Gorg, letting you know that this bit was really funny. And it was so funny, in fact, that I unplugged my microphone and I was doing the outro, so I wasn't reading chat. So I didn't even know. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you at the movies. Man, I bet that was really funny. Past me looks like he's having a good time. Look at that smile. Look at that happy face. Anyways, love you. Goodbye.